The following program is available in high definition on Channel 700. This program is designed and produced by the community with the support of TV Cogeco.
Hello. Council matters because under the Municipal Act, all municipal power is exercised only by council, by resolution. And that means the mayor works for council, and the council in Oakville believes that it works for you, the residents. And so today, I'm joined by three members of the board of the Oakville Community Foundation. Jim Rager, the chair, and Carole Crotty, another member of the board, and Nick Jelinek, another member of the board, who's going to be the chair next year. Welcome. And I thought that because of your boards and your organization's great interest in the vital signs of our community, that we could talk about how those vital signs are, how they can be improved, and how we can work together to make sure that we're the most livable town in Canada. So, Jim, do you want to start us off by explaining what Vital Signs is in terms of the board's work?
Sure. Just to give you a little overview of the Community Foundation and how Vital Signs fits into what we do. We are a community-based nonprofit. We have 120 individuals and organizations from the town of Oakville who have entrusted us with endowment funds that we administer and manage on their behalf, invest that money, and at the end of each year, based on our endowment holder instructions, we grant those returns into the charitable organizations of Oakville. We also, though, want to make sure that we have a good feel, a good kind of grounding in what's going on in Oakville in different areas. So each year, we did it 3 years in a row, and now we're going to do it every 2 years. We do a research known as Vital Signs, where we examine 12 different areas of the community, such things as transportation, what's happening in the senior section, mental health, poverty. There's a number of areas like that, so that we can both understand ourselves where the needs are as Oakville grows and based on the diversity of Oakville, and also advise our fund holders when they need that advice as to where to do the granting at the end of each year.
Okay, that sounds like a sensible plan. Carole, do you guys track the same 12 indexes year after year, or do you switch it up?
Well, so far we've tracked the same, but one thing that'd be important to talk about is that Vital Signs isn't unique to Oakville. There's a Canadian national organization, and this is something that is done in a number of cities, and it's done at the same time of the year. And different events lead to having different metrics. So we can learn from the other foundations across Canada, but so far we've tracked the same things, and we track what we're doing well as things, areas that we need improvement, because to stay as a really fantastic and livable city, we want to make sure we keep doing the things that we are doing well.
So you use the Vital Signs feedback to shape where you put your money?
Absolutely. Well, we connect good people at the foundation to causes in Oakville. They want to know where they get the biggest bang for their buck, and we let them know certain projects or certain grant applicants that need help.
So Nick, is the Oakville Community Foundation, how unique is it? Or does every city and town in the country have a community foundation? What is a community foundation movement?
So there is a Community Foundations of Canada group. There's 192 such community foundations in this country. I was lucky enough last summer to go to Winnipeg for the annual meeting of all these foundations. As Carole said, we all speak together over 3 or 4 days, and we learn best practices from one another. So by no means are we unique. But what we do as it relates to the research, much of which comes out of Vital Signs, and ultimately the gifting within our community, is truly unique, either to our community or to the fund holders who determine where they want their own funds to go.
So how old is the Oakville Community Foundation, Jim?
We are celebrating our 20th anniversary this year.
And how old is the Community Foundation movement in Canada?
If I recall from Winnipeg, I'm going to say about 60 years.
Wow, so we're not by any means the oldest, but on the other hand, we're not brand new either. How are we doing?
We're the I think, the 12th largest. So we've grown pretty quickly, since our establishment 20 years ago. In terms of the amount of money that we're able to grant into the community based on the size of our endowments and the investment performance that we've had, we're right up near the top.
Well, now that's interesting. We're the 26th or 27th largest municipality in the country, but you're the 12th largest community foundation. What are you doing?
Well, awareness building. We have a number of different programs that allow us to, we have a marathon of golf activity every year. We're Random Acts of Kindness. We participate in that. And so as awareness grows, more people talk about us, and as they get to a point in their lives when they want to establish some sort of a legacy for themselves and their children, more and more they're coming to us.
So how big exactly is the foundation, Carole?
How big in terms of the number of fund holders?
Well, how about how much money is under management?
Well, it's about $75 million right now.
That sounds like a lot of money.
It's grown significantly under the leadership of Mr. Rager.
So he has a way of twisting the arm that really works. How much has it grown?
Well, when we started we had a 5-year plan to get to $100 million of endowments. We started that plan 3 years ago, and at that point, I think we were at about 50.
A little less.
A little less than 50 million. So we've grown. I mean, that has to do with increased, dollars coming in from fund holders, as well as very good investment performance.
So all you wanted to do was double your size in 5 years. So can I accuse you of being ambitious?
Nick and I both share one common characteristic. We believe in stretch goals. We think that if you set a very high bar, you behave differently than if you had a kind of, maybe more realistic, easier to achieve plan. But when you start setting your sights on those kinds of growth targets, then you end up doing things differently, and that did cause us to think differently about what we do.
So are you going to hit 100 in 5?
We'll hit 100 by the end of 2015.
So it wasn't as stretchy as you thought, or what's?
It was pretty stretchy, and we're not there yet. But I think if we enjoy the performance that we did in 2013 by way of investment returns, and we can continue attracting more Oakvillians to open funds and to top up existing funds, we'll get there. We're not there, and it will take another good solid 2 years of work right until December 31st, 2015, I think.
So, Carole, or anyone, but Carole, what does that mean in terms of your ability to put money into the community in good causes? How much does that generate?
Well, this past year, I'd love to talk about this, but I really should defer to Jim because Jim knows a lot more. He's a lot more fluid with the numbers, but we granted over $2 million last year.
Wow.
And if we grow as projected, and Jim's been very active on the investment committee as well. And maybe he could talk about this.
How many recipients are you able to help?
That's depends on our fund holders, because they tell us at the end of each year, some here, some there. About 10% of our returns, though, we have discretion based on the contract we have with our fund holders. So there, I would say probably 40 or 50 different charities each year we are able to decide where that money will go.
Now, have you been satisfied as a board that municipal government is working with you as cooperatively as you'd like or we could? Do you see any room for improvement? This is as good a time as any to call us to a higher level of performance if it's needed.
I'll speak to that. I think one unique opportunity within this town is that we are truly livable Oakville. Focus group of one, I'll say we're already there, based on my experience as a citizen of Oakville, but I think we have to stay there. And we do a really good job of speaking about how livable Oakville is, but that's not true for everybody in this town. A full 10% of Oakvillians live at or below the poverty line. 23% of our charitable groups feel that their number one issue is actually their existence. And another statistic, which I find interesting because I have a son in grade 10, is a full 8% of students in Oakville in grade 10 will be diagnosed for depression. So we have mental health issues, we have poverty issues, and while that's happening, we have an overall sustained level of decline in giving in this town, in this affluent, livable Oakville town. So there's a very real and true need. I would suggest at the municipal level, awareness is probably the greatest opportunity. So many think that Oakville, those of us who live here and those who don't but know of Oakville, think that we have it all, and we don't.
Okay. Well, I know in terms of dollars, we have, I mean, I didn't ask you, I should ask, you must, your donation level must be pretty high, a couple $1 million?
You mean the fund, the endowments?
Yeah, how much you actually grant, I guess, each year?
Last year, based on last year's performance, $2 million.
And
if we hit the $100 million target, that'll go up to about $3.5 million.
Amazing. So we have at the municipal level, we have a community investment fund that's about $500,000 a year. It's divided between long-term funding, multi-year funding, and single-year funding. So this year, for example, we'll have almost $250,000 that we'll be granting in the next month or two. So that paints one picture, and we shouldn't leave out the Oakville United Way, which is on track to raise $4.3 million this year. And I know that the amount that they grant into the community is similar to what you do. But that's not the whole story. At the municipal level, we spend another $180 million on various forms of social assistance, all of our social programs. And to put that in perspective, that's about what we spend on water and wastewater. Making sure your tap flows when you want to drink and that things go away when you want to get rid of them. But it's important to me that we're as efficient as we can be in our community, and this is a community that really values efficiency. Do we work together enough, United Way, Community Foundation, and municipal, to make sure that our dollars are supporting each other and doing the most good? Are you satisfied with that? Do you want us to work harder? How do you come down on that?
If I was to build off my comments around awareness, I would suggest a partnership around the vital signs piece that we kicked this segment off with. It is a third-party, unbiased assessment of how we're doing, touching on those 12 indices, and I think there's just as much value in that for the town and for United Way as there is in the Oakville Community Foundation, to be aware of those needs, and also to recognize where we've enjoyed some successes.
Okay.
We have, we do have, we believe, a very good governance process at our board level at the Community Foundation. Our investment committee has done extremely well, really, even through the difficult times, beginning in 2007. And as that's occurred, other organizations have done just that. Thought there's some expertise here, there's some efficiencies to be had on our behalf if we could basically allow the Community Foundation to manage our funds on our behalf. And so, there's always that possibility. We do that with the Hospital Foundation and some of the other local organizations as well.
I don't want to make everybody jealous or anything, but I understand you have a fairly good rate of return on the funds you manage. Is that true?
Last year it was 14%.
14%?
And a conservative investment profile.
And I tell you, nobody gets that. Can I bring you my money?
Well, I would say most of our board directors have established endowments, so they've done that, as well as our investment committee. So people have a stake in it, and so they're a lot more careful and a lot more dedicated to the cause.
Well, it's outstanding work, and 14% ought to amaze anybody listening. So thank you very much for taking the time to share that information with me and with our viewers. And thank you for being with us. In a minute, we will take what we've learned and discuss it with members of council. Council Matters, and with us now are three members of council. Councillor Alan Johnston from Ward 1 in Oakville, which is the southwest part of the town, and Councillor Dave Gittings, who's from the other end of town in the southeast for Ward 3, and we have also Councillor Tom Adams from the northeast part of town, and if you're counting the numbers, Ward 6. So in terms of what Vital Signs is telling us about our community, and looking at the work that the Oakville Community Foundation and the United Way of Oakville and the Social Services Department of our municipal government, looking at all those things that we do, what's your take on what we just heard? Councillor Dave, we've all been taken by the attractiveness and I have to say the excitement of the Random Act of Kindness Day, and you've been one of the biggest cheerleaders I know for that. Apparently it really tickles your fancy. What's your experience on all of these fronts?
It does tickle my fancy, Mayor Burton. There are a number of events that are held throughout the year, and Random Acts of Kindness allows Boy Scouts and school children and seniors and anybody that lives in town to do something as simple or as complicated as they'd like that will touch somebody else, to make something a little easier for them, or just frankly to put a smile on their face. And the hope is that we've done this for several years now, that it'll catch and that it'll move forward and that people will continue to pay it forward. And it's a great opportunity to thank people for what they do in the community.
So it also has created a lot of visibility for the Community Foundation. Is that your sense of it?
Well, every year we're out there in the bright yellow T-shirts, so very visible, and I think it raises visibility as well because of the press coverage and the very fact that we've got so many people doing something for somebody else, whether it be kindergarten children thanking their crossing guard, whether it be scouts raking George's Square, whether it be people painting in a senior center. A wonderful activity.
And how important is it to you and your constituents, the information that the Community Foundation provides in their Vital Signs reports?
It shows very clearly that the needs are great in our community. You know, it's very easy for people to think that everything is fine. But when you look at some of the stats and you look at a number of the needs that are very real, it reminds people that there are a lot of people that are less fortunate than ourselves that need some help, and with the level of engagement that we have from a lot of Oakvillians, it provides a way for them to become engaged and give back.
So it's one of the things that strikes me about you as a member of council is officially you're a member of town council, and social services officially are part of the other municipal level. And yet you act and are very interested and concerned in the social services area. So do you find that it's any kind of a problem having the two levels, or do you just go with that? How does that work for you?
Well, it is what it is, as they say. But there are, whether it's regional or whether it's town council, it's simple and it's easy and it's fun to go out and encourage youth that have a number of groups that they're doing to raise funds or to raise equipment. And I think it's important to get out there and support them, because these youth, they're going to be making an incredible difference, and we have to encourage them.
So when you're concerned about a social service matter or any area that's covered by Vital Signs, do you find it easy and convenient to talk to your colleagues like Alan Johnston and Councillor Adams, who are on the region?
By all means, you know, we are a team, we work together, and we're always open to each other's ideas and suggestions. One of the areas that I sit on is the Accessibility Committee. There's a regional committee as well as a town committee, and we have rich discussions there as well, because the needs are great.
Right. So you're not operating in a vacuum separate from the regional level of services. You're actually plugged in.
Well, when you receive a phone call, and whether it's a provincial matter or federal or regional, it's not my style to say transferring your call. You know, we strive to give great service, and if we can handle it, by all means.
Yeah. Councillor Allen, You've been on health and social services at the region now, and you've made a mark there. The committee recently elevated you to vice chair.
That's right.
What's your sense of the way we can work with our community groups to continue to make our community more livable?
Well, you know, the region is responsible for delivering social services, but groups like the Community Foundation are very important to us. They augment the services that the region does. And the region does a lot more hard services, such as the Housing Corporation, where we run 2,000 units but control 4,000 to provide housing to people in need. So Community Foundation is important. Giving money to the community.
So as president of as a new incoming president of the Housing Corporation, are you going to look for ways to engage our community agencies like the Foundation and the United Way in improving our services there?
We'll be looking at not just the Community Foundation, but all organizations, not just in Oakville, but throughout the region, to engage them all to make living standards better for everyone.
Councillor Adams, you've specialized in planning and public works and in finance in your time, or at least in the last 7 or 8 years. Yeah. What is your sense of what we're capable of on both the financial side, and what are we doing on the planning side to try to deal with these problems?
We do a whole bunch of things, and so while we have the social services at the region, the formal social services element, we also have an awful lot of public works and transportation related work that we do, and we incorporate some of the social needs into that. I think government plays a very important role in everything it does around the transportation field, and in the transit world, especially in Oakville, we have locally improved our transit system tremendously over the last 10 years. Certainly since in my time on council, I've seen the transit system go from a hub and spoke kind of thing with the GO stations to a grid system, and that's been a massive improvement. So those people who don't have access to a vehicle, a personal vehicle, have a much improved transportation system for them. And at the region, on that side of things, we've also introduced a split program to provide very subsidized transit passes. And so that is not a formal public works element, but it's also not just a social service. It's a mix of the two, because we're mixing the social element of things as well as the transportation piece of our world.
So I get that by shifting from a radial system of transit to a grid system, we've improved mobility opportunities for our residents who may not find it convenient or possible to have a car. And I certainly am aware of how that's cost us in terms of a huge increase in what we spend on transit. When we look at the split pass, we should explain maybe the word splits. It's a horrible acronym that I can never remember what it exactly stands for. I think what would be more interesting to people is if you could explain to them how affordable a split pass is. It makes transit riding very cheap.
It makes it extremely cheap. So for those members of our residents who are in the low income level of cutoff, they get a extremely subsidized pass. So it's a 50% split of the cost between the user and the government who's paying for it. And it's even more subsidized at the seniors and the youth level. So it's a 50-50 split for the adult passes here in Oakville. And so when you get to that level of cost, you're talking about less than $2 a day in providing a pass for somebody. So it's a very effective way for somebody who otherwise has a difficult time to get out to the stores, get out to the various social things that they need to get out to their job, get out to job interviews. So there's a host of things there that we heard about when we were talking about introducing it, of the need of those people who might otherwise not be able to get around very easily. And so while we at the town of Oakville went to having the grid system of transportation, we didn't do that only for that element of the population that can't afford a vehicle. We're doing that also for our commuting public as well. So we have a large number of people that are using our transit system every day, and if we took that away, I think you'd find our arterial roads would be quite clogged in the morning and the evening during rush hour. You'd find it very hard to find parking at our GO stations. So our transit system plays an important part of our transportation network for everybody, whether you're needing those social supports or not.
So did our ridership increase as a result of this big increase in spending and this vast expansion of
Yes.
routes?
Yes, we have seen a dramatic increase. As soon as we went to a grid system, we saw a month-over-month increase every month for at least a full year. We're up to about 3 million rides a year, and there's no way our taxi service could ever handle that kind of load of traffic.
Well, thanks very much, councillors, for joining me today, and thank you for watching, because council matters.